gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 475. Woo. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by Viable Human, Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Hi, Saturn. We're also joined by emergency Saturn replacement, Andrew.
We're joined by...
How do they work?
We keep them in a glass case, and whenever we need an emergency Saturn replacement, we smash it.
Oh.
And then once he gets back from the emergency room from having glass shattered into his face, we do the show.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
And so that's...
At least I got to go to the emergency room.
What?
And pay several
like that's your outing?
Yes.
Oh boy, a field trip. We do have some housekeeping, which is that we have a decent amount of housekeeping, which is that, first of all, iOS is changing how they charge for Patreon, and the gist of it is that if you are subscribed to our Patreon through iOS, then starting in November, you are going to have to pay more money for your subscription because you got to give Apple a cut.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to do that, then subscribe on the website with a credit card or PayPal or something instead of through the app on iOS. I don't know how many patrons this might affect, but just so you know, like if you subscribe to the $4 tier, at least in America, assuming there's no conversion, it's $4. But on the iOS app version, it's going to be $4 and some change because Apple wants some of that money.
$5.20.
Yeah, Apple doesn't. They don't have enough money yet, and they want more money.
Right.
So if you're going to do a thing on the phone,
just a struggling little company.
Right. Yeah. Well, what are they supposed to do? Just not fuck you?
Saturn, did you say $5.20? Charging an additional $1.20?
Yeah, it's an extra 30%.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Fuck
So yeah.
that.
So also, I think if you're currently subscribed through iOS, it will change the amount you are billed. Is my current understanding, but I'll be honest, I don't follow Patreon and their back-end stuff too closely because it's just a lot to handle.
It does appear that it will change your current payment.
So if you're paying
I'm reading it on Patreon's website.
If you're paying like $4 a month and then all of a sudden in November you're like, hey, why am I paying $5 something now? It's because you're subscribed through iOS.
Yeah.
And so that starts in November, so you got some time. And we will definitely forget to mention it again before November. So that's on you. And presumably Patreon, it probably has a pop-up in the app to tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
also, everyone
anyway.
boo this man, and that man is Apple. Mr. Apple.
Also,
Mr. Tim Apple.
this morning at about 8:30 a.m. today,
Which is about 12 hours ago.
I realized that we had done the exact episode we had planned for tonight
Yeah.
already.
Which was
and I was
Nintendo
like,
64 Part 2.
No, it was not. And I was like,
It was
well, maybe...
Sunsoft.
I was like, maybe... No, another one. And I was like, no, maybe my notes are... Because, sometimes the notes are different enough that you're like, well, it's okay. We've done episodes that are pretty similar before.
Yeah.
And I went and I listened to the old episode while looking through my notes I had written this week, and it was like the exact fucking same beat for beat. So that's why Andrew's here, is because we shit-canned the whole episode 12 hours ago.
And I
are here.
weaseled my way on. I was like, oh, I got an episode for you.
But Andrew and I had
my
been
time.
Andrew and I had been working on this episode and ended up shit-canning it because we decided kind of like, hey, I don't know if I decided, I don't know if I have 2 episodes of this in me. So now we're doing an episode. There's going to be an episode, but just so you know, that's why it's weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, these things happen.
But if people give us feedback after this episode saying, no, that felt like a normal episode, we're just going to do this forever now. This is our new normal. It's just, fuck it, we'll figure it out live.
To be fair, for a long time, you would come over, sit down in the chair, and we'd look at my game shelf and be like, oh no,
you want to do Little
Kabuki
Nemo?
Quantum Fighter? Yeah, and you're like, okay. And that was it.
Yeah, that was our
yeah.
regular thing.
Anyway,
all
so
that
this
aside-
episode is Sergeant Kabuki Man.
No, that's the movie, Andrew.
Oh, no.
My week. We're going to talk about weeks. I've been trying to get into Deus Ex.
The first one?
The first one, yes. I played there's the Square Enix, they're technically prequels, but they're basically reboots.
Human Revolution and
I played through the first one of those and then didn't like the second one.
Yeah.
And I've always been told that the first one is like hailed as one of the greatest games ever made of all time. It's like it's way up there on like greatest game lists. It's very hailed for that, and I really want to get it, if that makes sense, because I play it and I'm like, okay, you just don't, here I am.
Yeah, I can understand that. There are a lot of games, especially from that era, that are lauded, and I go try to play them, and I just don't grok it.
And then I realize that it is a part of a genre that I kind of forgot used to be its own genre, which is the immersive sim.
Yep.
And when I started playing it like an immersive sim, I kind of started to get it a little bit. I was like, oh, it's not just a really bad first-person shooter.
Is that the one on 360?
No.
You're thinking Invisible War, which is the second one.
No, Invisible War was on the original Xbox. 360.
Oh yeah, that was OG. 360 was Mankind Divided.
No, it was Human Revolution.
Yeah. What the fuck?
He literally named every game other than
shit.
No, the first one did get a port on PS2, but that's its only console port.
Yeah. So, having only played the newer ones, which are very FPS oriented, I went into the original because I'm basically doing it backwards. I never played the original when it was a thing. Mm-hmm. I went into it treating it like a shooty gun game, which the new ones kind of are. I mean, you can do other stuff, but it's very shooty gun game oriented.
Right.
And as soon as I was like, oh, it's like literally not that, it started to make more sense to me.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of slowly pecking away at that, and I'm a few missions in. I'm enjoying it. I've also been playing. Our game club this month was Doom 2 or Dragon Quest V Part 2.
Yep.
And so I got the update for the Doom and Doom 2 package that Microsoft has updated the game too. Yeah, and I've been playing that, and it's
how is it?
I'll say this, and this is what I said today in the Discord. If you've never fucked with GZ Doom or Community WADs or anything like that, and you don't know what any of that is, this is the best Doom and Doom 2 package. This is the best release so far. It's got tons of stuff. If you, like me, have spent a lot of time with GZ Doom and Brutal Doom and other community mods and stuff and really tweaking the game, then it's not really anything you haven't seen or played before and kind of lacks some of the options that the open source versions of the engine have, minus the new soundtrack, which is really kick-ass. But if you're just like pick up and play Doom, I don't know what the fuck a WAD file is. I don't know what GZ Doom is. I just want to play Doom. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun.
So for consoles, it's probably good.
Yeah, definitely for consoles. Also, still kind of pecking away at Titan Quest because, I just like these light, breezy games. I've been joking with you all week about all the light, breezy games I've been playing. Right. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I picked this game up on Steam, and I played it for several hours. I haven't returned to it, but I plan to. It's totally free on Steam. It's not a free-to-play game. It's just a literally free game called Moon Ring. And it's like a weird sort of like mashup of like almost an Ultima-like, but really kind of light and breezy with some roguelike stuff on top of it, made by one of the original Fable developers. And it's just really fun and cute and interesting and has interesting leveling systems in this cool kind of like retro microcomputer aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it's just totally free on Steam. Like the guy just made this awesome game and was like, here it is for free. It's got like overwhelmingly positive reviews. It's super fun. So for like $0, if you own a computer, then go play it because it's a really interesting little RPG. Nice. It's been a good time.
Nice.
And yeah, that's mostly it. It's mostly what I've been doing. Saturday, you just wrote no for your week.
Yeah,
I see in the notes.
He had no week.
I feel like it. I woke up, or I didn't wake up today. Before I went to sleep this morning, I realized that it was already show week, and I thought it was not. I thought I had another week, and I don't, and I have no idea what happened there. I've just been working a lot. So I'm going to pass my time to Andrew and catch back up next week.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, it's me, Andrew.
What have you been playing?
To me.
Oh, okay. Well, what have you been doing?
So a couple weeks ago, I decided that
you hate all video games.
Hate all
You're
video
never
games,
going to play them again.
and they're for baby children.
That's true. Yeah.
And I'm a man. So
baby children is the weirdest way to refer to a human child. Hey, that's a nice looking baby child you got there. Good job.
What was it could be a boy child.
Yeah, is that what the previous joke was?
Yeah.
Boy children?
Yeah.
So I've just been doing man stuff, like welding and
Climbing mountains.
climbing mountains with my teeth.
Yeah.
And-
Oh, my goodness.
Tooth climbing. Yeah.
No,
It's
a couple
popular
weeks
sport.
ago, I decided I haven't played Stardew Valley in like 5 years. And
Yes.
there's been a ton of updates and stuff added to the game that I have
Oh, yeah.
never experienced. So I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of like after you get through the beginning stuff, it maybe it will be like a different game, sort of.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Which it kind of has been.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'll just like lightly play this game off and on. Anyway, so I'm like 120 hours into this game now.
Right. Yeah.
In like 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
To be fair, you're also in training at work, so you have a lot of downtime. So, like,
Well,
yeah.
I don't get to play it when I'm in the office. So
that's true.
Well, I guess it was 3 weeks ago because I started it right before I started my job.
Yeah.
So I did have like a week of just sitting on the couch watching movies and playing Stardew Valley on my whatever it's the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I've just been whole hog like I'm gonna casually play this game. Just kidding. It's gonna control my life now. Like
Yeah.
so I've been doing that. I've been playing a little bit of Our Topic because you wanted to do a show on it and then didn't want to do a show on it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
And then I haven't started playing it yet, but I did want to mention a friend of mine shared a sale on Skull and Bones, that garbage quadruple A game that Ubisoft put out.
Oh yeah, the Ubisoft the quadruple A Ubisoft online pirate thing, right?
So I played the beta. I played it for like 3 or 4 hours.
I remember, yeah.
And I was like, this game's fun, but it's nowhere near like $70 fun.
Right.
But it is $10 fun, which is how much I bought the game for. Because Best Buy was like, this game fucking sucks. Here it is for $10.
How many weeks till the servers are shut down and you don't even get your $10 worth?
I couldn't find it that cheap anywhere else, so I don't know what. It's like the Best Buy version of the game, so I don't know how garbage it is. Like
Weird. What? Best Buy version?
Well, it was the deluxe edition, which is like on the front of it.
Oh, their exclusive version. Oh, okay.
So I don't know what garbage, what Best Buy dildo your character gets or whatever.
Oh man, I need a new Best Buy dildo.
I wish your character in Skull and Bones started with a Best Buy branded dildo.
As a weapon, as a tool, as
just
armor.
in your inventory. That's it. There's no.
Yeah, but what is it used
It's a
for? Is
hat,
my question.
Sam.
Oh, okay, it's a hat. All right,
It's a cowboy hat, just like
Perfect.
pirates.
Saints Row
like to
3
wear.
made it a weapon, so it's not out of the question.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
There was a dildo bat in that game.
So I got that. I'm gonna play it and not buy any microtransactions from that piece of garbage, but just probably play it for like 6 hours, which I feel like is $10 worth of fun.
Sure,
and,
totally.
And then be done with it. But yeah. So other than that, yeah, just a crap ton of Stardew Valley. Just I think my favorite part is I started this job. I've been playing Stardew Valley, and I told Justin about it. And he was like, oh, okay, so you're playing a game where you escape your horrible corporate job life to become a farmer, and you're doing that while you're working in a corporate job.
At a company that like manufactures industrial equipment.
Nice.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, because Saturn, I'm sure you haven't even played the opening of the game. Like,
I have.
literally, you have.
Yeah.
Well, then it opens on you in like a dead end corporate office job, and you're like, I'm gonna escape to country life.
Yeah,
It's okay if you ever want a reminder that country life is not idyllic. You can come hang out with me again for a little while, and then.
I think the only thing that could have made it funnier is if my corporate job was working for Walmart. Because they have
because you work for JoJo Mart or whatever, yeah.
So that'd be the only thing that could probably make it funnier.
Yeah. Then let's do the news, of which there's a surprising amount. First up, GameStop is ending Game Informer magazine.
Oh, you You put a space after ending. I got excited.
Oh, no. I don't know that's how we would announce that GameStop is closing. GameStop is ending!
I hope you would announce it that way.
GameStop is ending Game Informer magazine, and a lot of people kind of came out of the woodwork to be sad about this. And like, there are some people that got their start in the industry working for Game Informer or getting in touch with Game Informer. So those people, like, I get it, but Game Informer's kind of a rag and kind of has been for
decades,
many years now.
Now, the one thing I will say that is a little sad about this is GameStop completely killed the website, which did have a lot of archived information, reviews, editorials, etc. Which, again, mostly, cheap rag style shit.
Yeah,
but
I mean, granted, they did occasionally have good stuff.
Exactly.
In it. It wasn't like Game Informer was one of those magazines that you would read every month on the toilet and hope that you would have a good article.
Right.
And every now and then you'd be like, oh, that one was actually pretty good. But for the most part, it was like, man, that's kind of not good.
I don't remember what game it is. There's some game that's about to come out that they had.
Oh yeah, the exclusive scoop on.
They signed an exclusive with GameStop, so that Game Informer would be the only magazine that would be able to do the previews, and now Game Informer's gone.
Yeah.
So it sucks.
Staff sent out a goodbye tweet only to have their access revoked, and the Twitter handle was deleted or hidden.
X.
Yeah.
Subscribers need to explicitly contact GameStop to ask for a refund for any existing subscriptions,
which is shitty.
Yeah, that's garbage.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I didn't read GameStop until the late aughts. No, or Game Informer, not GameStop. You can't read a GameStop. I didn't read Game Informer until the late aughts when I worked at GameStop. So maybe in its early days, it was a great magazine.
It was always kind of an advertisement. Like I had started getting issues, I want to say in 91 or 92. It was real early in the run. The first issue that I got had on its cover a Chester Cheetah NES game, which tells you how early it was. And
it ain't easy, Saturn.
Yeah, exactly. So it was always kind of an advertisement, but it was kind of a fun, celebrating video games advertisement early on before it became the soulless, desperate for money advertisement that it became.
Kind of that Nintendo Power vibe.
Right.
And trajectory, honestly.
Yeah.
I know even when Nintendo Power shut down, a lot of people were sad, but I was like, look, none of y'all have read Nintendo Power in the last 10 years because it's not awesome now.
Right. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, can I explicitly contact GameStop for a refund if I've never had a subscription?
No, unfortunately not. And they're only giving people refunds if they subscribed only to the magazine and not to the GameStop whatever bullshit.
Right, because it comes with the card.
Yeah. So if you got it through that, they're like, well, you'll still get the pro subscription. So that was always a free bonus. You don't get that.
I will say my heart goes out to the people that lost their jobs.
Yes.
This is also one of the very few last bastions of actual paid games, in air quotes, journalism. Right. There are not a lot of outlets to get paid for writing about, researching, and reporting on video games anymore. Yeah. And so in that regard, it is kind of one of the final pillars getting knocked out from under games journalism as a medium, which I would say is in dire straits.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on, Homebrew Genesis shmup ZPF is getting a console port on Switch and Xbox in early 2025.
And I guess technically it's getting a console port on Genesis as well, but that's kind of already established.
Yeah, because it's Genesis shmup, so that's cool. Yeah. Ziff Davis is not only still alive, the company, it's not a person, but has purchased former rival CNET.
Yes.
Which CNET, again, also very much a shell of its former glory.
But they both still own a shitload of things that are game relevant. And the one thing that I
fucking world that Ziff Davis is still stomping around the tech journo space, gobbling up companies. Like
what I thought was funny about this when I was reading about it is this means that finally, for the first time in almost 20 years now, Ziff Davis owns ZDNet again.
Oh, yeah. We've just gone full circle.
Yeah. Yeah, because ZDNet was acquired by somebody who was acquired by somebody who was acquired by CNET. And then now Ziff Davis is buying CNET and reacquiring ZDNet, which split off of Ziff Davis. So it's just the dumbest.
The reason he bought CNET?
No, I think they just want to own everything. I think that's the real reason.
There is so much consolidation in the tech and gaming journalism world. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
Think of any gaming website think of everyone you could possibly think of. They're owned by probably 2 different companies in totality.
Even then, there's a lot of consolidation in every industry. But
true,
but the tech journalism industry kind of got a head start on it.
Yeah, it was already a little shaky to begin with. Meta not only apparently owns Ready at Dawn Studios, makers of the PSP God of War and Daxter games, but is also shuttering them.
Yeah, they had bought them to make games for the Quest, the Meta Quest.
Oh, right, the Quest. I see. How? I guess that's not going very well if they're shutting them down.
I guess not.
That's especially upsetting. I know I didn't play Daxter or God of War on PSP, but I know Chains of Olympus is very much lauded as a really, really good PSP game. Yeah. So that's a bummer.
Yeah.
A new exploit has been found in Tony Hawk's 3, 4, and American Wasteland that can lead to a soft mod on GameCube, PS2, and Xbox, and early 360 units running old firmware. So there was a name for this. I can't remember. They had already named the exploit, and I forgot what they named it.
Something silly too. I'll pull it up here.
It was something real goofy. But for people that don't understand what this is basically a new way to get unofficial software and firmware running through an exploit on these systems. I can't pronounce
the name of it.
Oh no,
because it's just a bunch of vowels together. It's a bunch of consonants together. It's Tony Hawk's Pro STRCPY.
Can you try to pronounce it?
Sturkby.
Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. My daughter's favorite game to play in the car with me is she spells nonsense words that are 50 characters long and makes me pronounce them like I'm Bonzi Buddy on her Windows 98 computer. So she'll be like, Dad, how do you spell, or how do you pronounce HJKFFFFPSSSSZZXXX? And I'll be like, just made me think of that.
Nice.
Fans are attempting to recreate the Super Famicom Satellaview service and are petitioning for homebrew and fan games to broadcast to users. Weird, cool, weird, possibly subject to shutdown by Nintendo depending on how they go about it.
Oh, I'm sure, yes. Nintendo will at the very least try to, I'm sure.
Yeah, but something to keep an eye on. It could be a neat thing to play around with.
Especially if they sign the Nintendo Terms of Service for Nintendo Online.
Right. Square Enix is reprinting Final Fantasy Pixel remasters on PS4 and Switch. I've got my copy pre-ordered.
Oh, nice.
Saved me $15 off of what it's going for now, which is like $85.
Yep.
And so, if you're looking to pick up Pixel Remaster, then there you go. This is
especially good for fans of the PS4 because the PS4 version was only ever printed in North America and Europe through that super ultra limited first print. And used copies were selling for like $400 or $500.
Yeah, and the new one, I don't know if the old one did, but the new one comes with stickers. So
that's true.
There you go. Oh. Microsoft / Bethesda / id / however many other companies exist within this amalgam of rolled up Katamari style corporate structure that we all live in, have released Doom 1 and 2 in a new combo pack. Owners of either game on modern platforms receive the new release for free. LRG is working with Microsoft, unfortunately, to re-release the SNES version of Doom with a new custom chip that allows for better performance and more accurate gameplay. Cool that it's happening. Not excited that it's LRG. Please pick a different company. Please, anyone! The new release also features the new levels included with the new combo pack. So at least it's not just straight SNES Doom, which was kind of a shit show.
Yeah. Yeah, this one apparently
at least
runs
it is a functional
much better.
Version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
And I like the idea of them, basically patching this, with new chips in a Super Nintendo cartridge to provide new functionality. Like, that's a really cool thing to be happening and to be officially releasing.
Yeah.
LRG just annoys me, though. Just anyone else, please.
Fair.
Borderlands movie debuted at 0% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. More upsetting, animators and artists say they weren't paid for months of work on the movie or credited for months of work.
Great.
So good fucking job, I guess, man. Although by the end of the day, yeah, I checked, it was at 2% fresh.
Well, that's refreshing.
For people that don't know, Rotten Tomatoes goes up to 100%.
I got to get on my re-edit of that movie where at the very end, like after, like right before the credits roll, I'm just gonna insert Saturn's wah wah.
I kind of want to see it just because it's apparently so fucking bad.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna wait till it's on Netflix in a week.
I had not even realized that they were making the movie until it apparently was done, and it has Jack Black and Kevin Hart in it.
Jack Black, Kevin Hart, Kate Blanchett, I want to say, is in it. It's a weird cast.
Isn't it?
And even the previews, watching it, you're like, this is a weird fucking vibe, dude.
Right?
So yeah, I'm interested.
Isn't it Sigourney Weaver? Was in it?
No.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Jamie Lee Curtis. That's who I'm thinking of.
Jamie Lee Curtis. I was gonna say if it was Sigourney Weaver, I would know.
What'd you say, Seth?
Basically the same person.
Sega will delist the standalone listing for Sonic Generations on Steam ahead of the upcoming remake, but will continue to offer the original release in a combo pack with other legacy Sonic releases. This is better than just delisting it. Sure, but what would be better than all of that is just make a new fucking SKU and leave the old shit alone.
Exactly.
Just stop doing this. Yeah. ConsoleVariations.com has been able to secure pictures of an early GameCube prototype branded as the Nintendo Dolphin.
It looks weird.
This is extremely rare and extremely weird.
Does it look like a dolphin?
No, it looks like a GameCube.
I wish it was shaped like a dolphin. That would be so exciting. What it looks like is like if you're like, it's like, oh, we have GameCube at home. Like it's like it looks like a weird Chinese GameCube clone. Right. Like it looks like something that you'd be like, oh yeah, this released in Hong Kong markets or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, that's strange,
So the
well, no, I was thinking like the IQ and stuff like that because they got weird variants of these systems in those markets. Like if I saw this, I'd be like, oh, is that one of those weird, releases in a different market? It's very strange. Which brings us to our topic at hand, which
dolphins.
Yeah, I told you we had to pull this episode out of our ass, so we're just going to read you about dolphins now.
Andrew, can you give us your best dolphin voice?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh my God. Is the dolphin dying?
I've been practicing.
You got to work on that.
Practicing all day. Is it bad?
Yeah, it's pretty bad, dude.
Everyone that I work with said it sounded good.
I feel like no one else remembers Flipper. Does anyone else remember that there was a whole fucking show about a fucking dolphin?
They even remade Flipper in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, I remember
it was just like Lassie, but like, what if Lassie was a dolphin? Like, I don't know what coked out weirdo came up with it.
Did people not remember Flipper? It was like a big thing.
I feel like people don't remember Flipper. All right, we're at the topic at hand.
Oh, sorry.
Which is quitting Oblivion. And let me give some pretext here. Andrew and I'd started playing Oblivion, and I was 2, 3, 4 hours into it, and I was like, man, I'm having a lot of fun. And I said, Andrew, Saturn doesn't like Elder Scrolls games.
You didn't actually say that. I just assumed that.
I didn't say. We just both know that they mentally paralyze him. Right. So I was like, well, so would you do some Oblivion episodes on me? And you were like, sure. So you started playing it too.
I got
do
them on you.
What did I say?
You said, "Will you do some Oblivion episodes on me?"
Yeah. I'm gonna do some Oblivion episodes on you.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know why I said that. I have no idea. It's been a fucking day, man. And so I got about 15 hours in, and you're about half that in, right? You're like 6, 7, 8 hours in.
I'm maybe 6 hours, maybe 7.
I get about 15 hours in, and I was like, I fucking hate this and I want to quit. And you were like, oh. And I think what I said was, I don't want to Ayuden Chronicle you again. Which was the last time you were on the show where you played 60 hours of Ayuden Chronicle.
And 60 hours into Oblivion.
And fucking everyone else quit the game. And you had to show up and like carry it on your back. when we and I was kind of bummed out because I was like, I still played like 15 hours. You played a half dozen hours. I listened to a lot of stuff. I read a lot. Like I was prepping for it. And it's kind of a bummer to can a whole topic because we can't properly cover it. But then suddenly we needed an episode 12 hours ago. And I was like, what if we just talked about our experiences with it, our first impressions, re-experiencing a game that Andrew, when we're about to do First Encounters, but I know that you and I both have a ton of nostalgia for.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of been kicking around the mental idea of a show format where we kind of break down something that we have a lot of nostalgia for, that we try to return to, and then talk about why we've kind of aged out of it. I don't know what to call this series. I need a name, like a snappy name for it.
I like what you have, which is just quitting and then the game.
Right? Yeah, I guess that, but that's what it is for now because The Elder Scrolls 4: Oblivion is already a really long title.
And then so the rest of the title would be, we had a lot of nostalgia for it, but when we played it now, it's not as good. We had
problems, and so we're going to discuss those now.
Saturn, is that too long of a title?
No, that's
MP3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just an emo band name.
Saturn plays Dragon Quest, and we all know how long their titles can get on the Wii. What was that one?
Oh shit! The Dragon Quest
sword one?
Swords. Oh, yeah, that was
the World Trees Woe and the Blight Below. Was that it?
No, that's a different one. The Swords was the Masked Queen and the Tower of Mirrors.
These are just emo band names. Or album names for an emo band.
Yeah, that World Trees Woe was Dragon Quest Heroes on PS4.
Oh yeah, that was the subtitle.
That was the Muso game.
So, release info for the Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion. This game came out March 20th, 2006. It released on Xbox 360, Windows, and PS3. And I don't know if all the ports were simultaneous, but they were pretty close, if not simultaneous. Well, no, the PS3 port was later. So I think PC and Xbox 360 were simultaneous. PS3 was a little bit later, but not a ton later. And this would be the first Elder Scrolls game to have pretty timely releases for both PC and console. So that was kind of a moment in the series. I was working at GameStop at this time, and I picked the game up day one when it came out, and I was so excited for it and could not wait. I got the special edition with the little booklet and the Uriel Septum coin.
Ooh.
Do you guys remember the coin?
You still got that?
No, I wish I did. It was just like an imperial coin. And I went home and I played the shit out of this game for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And I had played Oblivion or Morrowind before this, and I had a lot of fond memories of goofing off in it.
Yeah.
But I never really played it, right? I couldn't really figure it out. I was a few years younger, so I would have been 11, 12, 13, and it's kind of a dense game, especially on Xbox with none of the modern guides and wikis and amenities that we have now to help with it.
Yeah.
And so this one I was like, no, I'm going to sit down and really play it. And I loved this game. I played huge amounts of it. Never remotely finished any quest lines. Just really, really enjoyed it. And I have a ton of nostalgia for this. This was a lot of my teenage years right here, stacked away into Oblivion. What about you, Andrew?
I would say that the Elder Scrolls series is probably the one series that... Because you and Saturn and everyone else knows whenever I was doing Classic Corners, I didn't really play a bunch of older video games.
Yeah.
I had some. I had a Nintendo and I played some Nintendo games. But the Elder Scrolls games were games that I played from a young age. I played Arena, I played Daggerfall.
Yeah, you've been there the whole time.
I even played Battlespire, that piece of garbage that's a spin-off kind of Elder Scrolls game.
Let me ask you, I know I'm interrupting your first impressions, but do you know much Elder Scrolls lore? Because I feel like it's so dense.
I don't,
was it not really a focus for you?
I don't think the lore, I don't think I ever really got into the lore itself, especially with Arena and Daggerfall. I think I was just too young really care.
Well, also it's a little harder to find in Arena and Daggerfall too. I mean, Arena is just, as far as I know, just mostly just straight arena battles, isn't it?
No, Arena is like the whole entire Cyrodiil. So it is the entire planet. You can go anywhere, all of the different like regions you can go to. It's all randomly generated, so nothing matters.
Right, it's all bullshit.
And even the main story of Arena, like if I remember correctly, the main story is also the location of like the lich or the wizard that you have to kill to get his staff is also randomly generated. So it's not in the same place every time.
Yeah, and they play around with random and procedural generation. Like the Daggerfall was. It's not procedurally generated when you played, but in development it was procedurally generated. So that's why the world is so huge. And also kind of samey.
But I mean, for me, like I was like a teenage boy, so it was just like playing the game, killing dudes with swords, and then like making lady characters and then seeing them in their underwear, basically. Like that was
right. Yeah, it's standard boy child stuff.
Yeah, boy child. So I played, Arena, Daggerfall, Battlespire. I played a lot of Morrowind. I think Morrowind may have been the first game that I beat multiple times.
Oh, really? Wow, okay.
Because I never, like, I was the type of person that, unless it was, like, a game where you don't necessarily beat it, like Tony Hawk and that kind of stuff, where you just kind of do whatever. But as far as story game-wise, once I beat the story in other games, I was like, that game's done forever now.
Yeah, I've finished it now. Yeah. Goodbye.
But Morrowind was definitely one where, like, I beat the story once, I beat the story a second time, and then I played it a third time and just did all the side quests and became God and then killed Vivek and before I even did any of the main story and just took his house.
Obviously, that's what you do.
So I was very into it.
Okay.
And then
a friend of mine was as into it as you were, so I enjoyed a lot of it kind of through him and through goofing around with his save files was how I mostly enjoyed it.
I didn't do a lot of magic in Morrowind, which was a big thing because you can make your own spells and you could make them stupid powerful. But I did.
Kind of right off the gate, too, because I've been... spoilers for the rest of this episode. I've quit Oblivion. And I've gone back to Morrowind, and I've been sending Andrew the goofy shit I've been doing in the game. And a lot of it is making spells that have a duration of 1 second so I can afford to buy them, and then casting them to do stupid shit.
Yeah. So I played it a lot. And so then Oblivion came out, and we're, my whole family, it's me, my brother, my dad, we're all super into Elder Scrolls. My dad's old best friend actually beat Arena, and we always like bragged about it to people. Like, we're like, my dad's best friend actually found the randomly generated wizard and got his staff or whatever once.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Oblivion came out, and we were not. My brother was kind of like computer savvy, like he liked taking computers apart and stuff like that. I was not as a child. I was like, what's a computer? It plays the games and I can look at boobies on it, right? Like, that's basically it. So we didn't really pay attention to tech specs. For installing Oblivion on the garbage computer we had that ran Morrowind fine, so we assumed it ran everything else fine.
Totally.
But I played Oblivion all the way through and beat the game with it maybe having like a couple frames a second. So like no joke, like it's like a stop motion like animation for me.
Oh my! I can't even imagine how many hours, because Oblivion, and we're going to talk more about it, is a very slow game in a lot of ways, especially compared to its predecessors.
The weird part is everything else was fine. Like the music was normal.
Right.
And the voice acting, like the voices were all normal. But it was just like a stop motion animation of me playing this game. And I have like vivid memories of being in an Oblivion gate, killing like Daedra with like my sword, just like not even really seeing it swinging, but hearing the hitting noises and like.
Do you think it made the game a little easier because it was moving so slow? You could really kind of slow motion your way.
I died a lot.
So suffice it to say, you were a fan of Oblivion.
Yeah, I was a fan of Oblivion. I played it that one time with the garbage frame rate, and then I think my dad eventually, because like I said, we were all such big Elder Scrolls fans, he was like, I guess I'll buy a new computer.
Oh, new computer, okay.
And because he was like, well, I want to be able to play the next one when that comes out in 50 years. So, yeah, so we upgraded our computer and finally got to, I replayed it in normal mode.
Yeah. So I let's talk about the game. Because first of all, I want to have a brief section of what is still good. Because
I did
Oblivion,
I did have issues with the game when it came out, but not like enough to stop me from playing it.
I think if maybe you were a couple years older, it would have been enough to stop you. Like as an adult, the idea of playing a game like that, I'm like, fuck no. But when you're like a kid and you got nothing going on, sure, right. I want to talk about what is still good because Oblivion is kind of treated like the sort of middle child of the Elder Scrolls games. And in fact, I mentioned in the Discord that I was playing Oblivion, and someone popped in and was like, why? Why would you play Oblivion? And I was like, I love it. It's my favorite one.
Oh.
And then I went back to it, and I was...
And now you're realizing Morrowind's your favorite one.
I want to talk about what's good. First of all, I enjoyed at the time, and in its own way, I still do kind of enjoy the more generic fantasy setting the game has compared to Morrowind and Skyrim. Skyrim's very, like, Nordic themed.
Yeah.
Morrowind's very weird, extremely interestingly themed. But I remember enjoying that Oblivion was kind of vanilla fantasy flavored.
Yeah.
Because being a teenager and being a big D&D fan, that was kind of the version of fantasy I was most familiar with.
Yeah, Morrowind's kind of more like I would describe it as like alien landscape kind of.
It's very strange.
Like all the creatures are all like alien looking and all the plants
I was playing Morrowind today and I ran into a thing that I literally sitting at my computer was like, what the fuck? And like backed up from it. Because it can't. But not only it was like a bone walker or something, and it came out a door. I was like, ah! And I was like, holy shit!
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, it's. I like the kind of vanilla fantasy milieu, and I did at the time, and I still do. It's just different. I don't love the aesthetic of Skyrim compared to Oblivion. It feels a lot darker, more gray, toned down. I like the way the game looks. I know that not everyone does, but I liked that at the time, and I still enjoy it.
I mean, it was very pretty, especially. I mean, that was the thing that we always were impressed with, is that all of the Elder Scrolls game, whenever they came out, always won, like, the whatever awards for, like, Game of the Year and looking the prettiest and
I will say
making advancements.
The character models look weird, and I saw some review that referred to them as, like, dough-faced NPCs, and after I read it, I was like, "Oh, I can't not see it now."
Yeah, I think when I made my character, I remember I messaged you, and I was like, "I forgot that I can't make a human-looking person in this game."
It's weird, uncanny valley shit. I think the beginning of the game, especially going back to Morrowind, is very cinematic, and this is something Skyrim would continue. It has a kind of action movie feel. It's very, very linear, very cinematic right out of the gate. The tutorial, I think, isn't too bad compared to like later Bethesda stuff like Fallout 3, where you're literally born as a baby and have to live out a whole fucking life before you leave the vault.
Yeah.
And when the game spits you out into the world from the dungeon that you start in, the tutorial dungeon, you're kind of right next to another dungeon to explore. So I think it's a good start. It's a start that Skyrim kind of copies a little bit. Starting kind of like an action movie.
On too.
Yeah, I think in some ways, definitely. So I like that compared to like Morrowind and Daggerfall, which are kind of just like, you're in the game now.
Well,
especially Daggerfall is just like, welcome to a giant dungeon, figure it out or die, I guess. Like there's.
Well, I mean, Daggerfall and Oblivion both kind of have you're a prisoner. Like in Daggerfall, you start off in a dungeon, you're in a prison technically, and you just kind of escape it yourself. And
right, but you get no help. In Oblivion, like, you've got NPCs following you, kind of tutorializing you, helping you out a little bit, you know, and it kind of gets you on your feet before just throwing you to the imps.
Right.
Also, I think the initial main mission quest is pretty exciting up front. You go to, what's the name of the town? The first town that's under siege, and it's the first Oblivion.
Is that the one?
Yeah, Kvatch. You go there, and you have to, like, bust down an Oblivion gate. It's just a cool sequence.
But it's real hard.
It is real hard, but it's a cool, big action movie sequence. There's lots of guys running around with swords. Like, you really feel like you're in, like, a war kind of setting.
Yeah.
It's just neat. And especially at the time, I thought it was neat. I still think it's neat.
I will say real quick just about the intro part. Whenever you finish the Oblivion Gate and you're clearing out the city, and they ask you to go with them to the Duke's house or the castle or whatever, and then you clear out the first room, and they're all like, all right, we'll stay here and you do the rest. Okay, bye. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, you do get Martin goes with you and like one other dude goes with you. But like leading up to that, when you're freeing the city, that's a really cool segment. Like, I mean, you're running around with like 10 other dudes fighting big swarms of monsters. It's just cool. It's fun. I do want to say many of the quests are still fun and interesting. There's like a bajillion quests. That's kind of what Elder Scrolls games are famous for, is having, 90 million different quests.
Yep.
And I think a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are still pretty fun and interesting. And there's still a lot of like, go here, get 5 things, come back. But, RPG's going to RPG.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack's still great. Love the soundtrack. It's fantastic.
I think that was, I remember that being one thing that I was slightly disappointed in when I was a kid.
Really?
Just because it was and they haven't really done a whole lot since Morrowind. Morrowind kind of like redid all the music for the Elder Scrolls series.
Yeah.
Because everything before that was all, chirpy and kind of...
Yeah, MIDI files. Yeah.
And then Morrowind actually had like a score. And they kind of just tweaked it for every game after that, for the most part. Like, there's the main theme, and that's kind of mostly what I remember, and you hear the main theme since Morrowind in every single game.
Yeah. I want to start talking issues now.
Okay.
It's installation and modding process on PC. Unlike Skyrim, Daggerfall, and Morrowind, there is not a clean, easy modding and installation process for Oblivion. It's kind of an amalgamation of everything from 2006 to now, mixed and matched in weird ways. There's no OpenMW style ground up rebuilds or any of that kind of shit. It's just you wading through a decade of mods and fixes and things and figuring out what does and doesn't fit together. I ran Northern UI, which added proper controller support to the PC version, which it does not have otherwise, despite the fact that the interface is still scaled on the PC version to the same size it is on Xbox, which makes the interface enormous on your computer monitor. I installed OBSE, which is required. It's just a script extender that lets different mods run. And I did use an experience mod to fix some of the leveling issues that the game has. Yeah. I had issues with the game crashing many times on both Linux and Windows. I've reinstalled the game maybe 6 times to fix issues.
I don't think there wasn't a day that you messaged me and you're like, this game just keeps crashing a million times every time I play it.
I've done it on multiple platforms, and I'm not an expert on things, but I know how to work a computer and mod a game. I've been doing it for a long time. It's just kind of a mess for Oblivion. It doesn't have the focused community effort that the other Elder Scrolls games have. There's still stuff out there, but you kind of got to weed through it and figure out like, is this project's 10 years old and it's abandoned, so it's probably not going to work with OBSE, or this is going to be weird or whatever.
Yeah.
I tried a couple different mod managers. They were problematic. Eventually, the game just stopped working on both platforms, and I spent a day. I finally messaged you. I was like, I can't keep playing because it doesn't work on any of my machines now.
Yeah.
I figured out what it was. The game doesn't work in full screen on any of my machines.
Oh.
And so I had to find a mod that creates windowed full screen for it to work. Because I guess it synced my settings across Steam, and so apparently I'd in the course of doing something, had accidentally turned on full screen mode, and it no longer worked.
Weird.
And then I look it up, and people are like, yeah, the game crashes in full screen, it won't boot. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, fucking patch your shit, man.
And I played on Xbox, so I had none of these issues.
You had none of these issues. I also, when learning about the game, doing my research, reading about it, I kept hearing about the leveling problem. in Oblivion. And I had never heard about the leveling problem in Oblivion because, again, I played the game as a goof. Like, I didn't do it right, in air quotes, you know. And I'm going to explain it to the best of my ability. It is kind of technical, and I'm probably going to get some details wrong, but I know the gist of it is that basically the way leveling, in at least Morrowind and Oblivion works, is you level up your skills. And as you level up your major skills and complete quests, you begin to gain levels. And when you level up, if you have increased enough non-major skills between levels, you will get larger bonuses to your stats when you level, right? Yeah. And it's a scale where you can have up to 15 points, 3 sets of 5 added to 3 different stats. Which, if you haven't done enough leveling of non-major skills, then you will not get the full 15 points. You can get as little as 3 points.
You can get as little as 2.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, because I had one of my levels, I had 2 in a slot.
Now, that's a pretty big disparity, 2 to 15 points. So if you have a lot of what I've...
2 for one ability. Sorry, not like 2
Okay,
total.
so that's 6.
Yeah.
So if you have several levels where you're only getting 6 points because you've been accruing what I've heard are called dirty levels...
Oh.
which I've adopted,
Jeez.
then your character can come to be half as powerful as another character of your same level. Makes sense.
So if you get a dirty level, are you like, oh, what a dirty level you are?
I'm a dirty boy. With Morrowind, leveling, as far as I can tell, works pretty similarly, but here's the difference. In Morrowind, everything levels with you. Some things, or not Morrowind, in Oblivion, everything levels with you. In Morrowind, some things scale, but for the most part, a scrib is a scrib is a scrib. There are always going to be scribs. But in Oblivion, say you're fighting skeletons, eventually you reach a higher level and you get the next tier of skeletons. So now you're fighting skeleton heroes instead of regular skeletons. So it has the effect of, as you're gaining levels, you're effectively, if you're not doing it efficiently or in air quotes correctly, you can have a character that is comparatively weaker than you were when you started the game.
Yeah.
And even if you're leveling perfectly, there's also the kind of effect that I always feel when I play games where the whole world scales of, I'm level 1,000,000 and I've been playing for 70 hours and a goblin is still a 5-minute fucking battle. This is bullshit. You want to be able to one-shot a goblin. Yeah,
he's
but
and you're... He's at the gym.
And I remember when I played the game when I was younger, I felt like it was really hard, and I would eventually lower the difficulty all the way down, and it would still kind of get hard. And I figured out why that is, because part of the leveling problem is when you lower difficulty, it just makes things take less hits. And since they're taking less hits, you're accruing less skill points. So you are now leveling slower. So you're leveling dirty, and you're gaining skills slower. So eventually the game still catches up to you and has the potential to still kick your ass.
I do want to say I don't remember having this problem when I was younger.
Sure.
And that may have been that I just happened to level the correct way, I guess, or the way that the game wants you to do.
Or maybe you just had a good build, or maybe you're just better at the game than I am. I mean, this is all very probable.
I don't know. I definitely, like, in Morrowind, not so much Skyrim because the leveling process works different in it, but in Morrowind and Oblivion, my dad always made fun of me because every time, and that's just probably me being like a kid who's impatient, but whenever I would walk anywhere, I would be constantly jumping. Like my character would just be jumping constantly, and he's like, "Why?" He's like, "Why do you do that?" And he's like, "That's stupid. You shouldn't do that. You should just walk around like a normal person."
Right, but if you're gaining a minor skill doing that, then you're effectively adding 2 increases, and I think it's endurance whenever you level up. So it is the smart way to play.
So like he asked me, and one time I was just like, well, because when I jump around a bunch, my acrobatics level, I think by the time that I was maybe halfway through the game, my acrobatics is like at 100% because I just jump everywhere.
So... again, this is kind of an issue in Morrowind. You can have dirty levels in Morrowind, but the whole world doesn't scale to you, so it becomes less of an issue. Like, you're getting more powerful compared to a scrib or a rat, no matter what.
And in Morrowind, you can create a spell that just, like, nukes the town.
They're not giving you stronger rats. Now, as you level up in Morrowind, you start to get introduced to stronger enemies that you won't see at earlier levels. but you're not given stronger versions of earlier enemies. Anyway,
like Umbra.
I hope I explained it correctly, but this does create an issue where you kind of have to worry about it, and if you don't worry about it, it can screw you many, many, many hours into a play before you've realized that you've been screwed 10 hours ago.
I mean, I know it sucks, but at the same time, I also feel like the majority of RPGs, like if you're playing a JRPG and you don't level your person correctly, or you give them the wrong stats, or you don't teach them the right spells, or whatever, I don't play a lot of JRPGs. You could still make a garbage build of your characters in a JRPG.
Sure, but you're still getting stronger than the world around
That's
you
true.
because the world isn't scaling up to you.
Right.
All this aside, this was just the first thing that as I'm playing through the game, I'm like, shit, do I have to worry about this? Because everyone's talking about it. And I'm like, is this a thing I need to worry about? And it kind of is. So that's why I turn on the cheat that lets me get max skills every time I level.
Yeah.
And the game is still getting really hard because spells suck in this game.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible.
They're so, like, I get that in Morrowind, the joke was that, like, you could just go pay to have a spell made that would, like, blow up an entire town.
Yeah.
But I feel like my spells are fucking useless in Oblivion.
Yeah,
I finally went around and, like, got all the spells for my appropriate level, and they're a little better, but still just really, really not awesome feeling.
Well, my character started out with a healing spell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's for everybody or if that was just Dark Elves get it. I don't really remember.
Mine did too.
Okay.
I was playing an Argonian battle mage, I think.
Maybe we just get it. But
I think it's a battle mage thing.
and it's helpful for like the first escaping the prison, and then
After that,
it's not
useless.
really helpful. I still used it a bunch because I didn't have anything else. But
Right.
yeah.
Just kind of general combat stuff. I don't know why the fuck they would give the PC version the same scale as the Xbox version, because like the map screen, you're viewing the map in like this tiny mail slot rectangle.
Oh yeah, it sucks.
And you cannot zoom in or out, and you're fast traveling because they added fast travel to the game, so you have to like drag the map constantly. And because I'm fast traveling, I don't actually know where anything is or what it's called because I'm just zooming there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're like, oh, go to Bruma. And I'm like, where the fuck is Bruma? I'm looking at like 1 square inch of the map and I got to drag it around through this hole to find Bruma.
Yeah.
I can't, the map drives me crazy. I did when I played it the first time. This time around, I did not like that Speechcraft and Lockpicking are mini games now.
Yeah, I don't.
I much prefer like walking up and just spamming the button and then it being like, oh, your lockpick either ran out or you did it.
I mean, you could do that in this game. There's the auto lockpick feature.
I feel like that sucks.
It does
because
suck.
here's the thing, and this is just, I don't have the data on this, so Elder Scrolls experts might be like, no, you're actually wrong. But I feel like if I have a decent lockpick skill and I go up to a low level lock in Morrowind, I hit the thing, it fucking works. I feel like I go up to easy and very easy locks all the time in Oblivion, and it'll bust through 10 lockpicks.
Well, Morrowind,
and then I'll quick save and quick load, and it'll do it in 1. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
I mean, Morrowind had a lot of different, and if we do an episode on it, we'll probably maybe get into it. But
Yeah.
Morrowind was the last Elder Scrolls game where it was a dice roll when you swung your sword.
Yeah. You didn't hit all the time.
So because they were using like tabletop RPG kind of rules, and everybody complained about that. They're like, I'm hitting them with my sword, but I'm not doing any damage. And so in Oblivion, that was like, if your sword makes contact with their character model, then you hit them.
Yeah.
And I feel like they kind of did the same thing with like lockpicking and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Where it no longer was like a dice roll based on your stats. It was more of just kind of like,
they really want you to do the mini game.
And it sucks. The minigame sucks so hard. I tried doing it several times, and it sucked. And I was like, I'm just going to auto lockpick until I run out of lockpicks, I guess.
Yeah, so that's there were some locks where I would spend 10, 15 minutes on a lock. And this kind of gets to another point that I want to make, which is that Oblivion, having fast travel makes it feel a lot faster of a game because you're zipping all over the fucking world. but it's kind of like this speeding up to slow down kind of thing. And a lot of this is compared to Morrowind, because I've gone back to Morrowind. That's what I'm playing now. And it's like, yeah, I can get to destinations fast, but one, conversations are way slower. Because unlike the previous game where all the text pops up in a box and I can read it at my own pace, it's like one sentence at a time, and then you click your reply, and then one more sentence. And when you talk to people, it has to do that thing where it pans up to their weird dough face. You know, and then like lock picking is a whole fucking thing. Like if you're just like breaking into somewhere, you'll spend half your time just slowly picking locks because you only got 25 lock picks and you don't want to auto pick and lose them all. So you're save scumming.
Mention a funny thing that happened to me in this play of Oblivion that I've done so far.
Yes.
Which is, as I said, I jump everywhere I go. Even now, I'm like, it increases my acrobatics. I'm gonna keep doing it. And I was walking through town, and some dude just came up and started a conversation while I was in midair. And so I'm technically
so floating there?
Just floating there talking to this dude. And then once the conversation ends, I like fall to the ground. And I just like the thought of me like floating.
I had the like Duke or Count or whatever of Leowin would appear in front of me throughout the world.
Yeah.
I don't know what fucking I was in an Oblivion gate, and all of a sudden I get forced into a conversation with the fucking Duke of Leowin. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Go away!
Go for a walk.
I finally figured out that I can open the console and click on him and type kill, and it'll knock him out. So I just have to do that and then run away from him, because every time I stand near him, he like sucks me into a conversation like a tractor beam.
He just likes you, man.
I know that this is basically just like, let's compare it to Morrowind. But I did want to talk about kind of some just general design examples that I think highlight what I'm enjoying about Morrowind right now, and what I kind of enjoyed less about Oblivion is that, like, I'm doing Mage's Guild's quests in Oblivion. Mm-hmm. And I get to this quest, and it's like it's a Ring of Burden quest. There's a guy underwater, and he has a ring of burden on him, and he's fucking dead. And you have to get this ring off, but as soon as you pick it up, you're over encumbered and you can't move. And it's kind of this like figure it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I like that kind of design. I mean, you're in my D&D group. You know that I like design that's like there's no real right answer. They're just like, here's some tools, figure the thing out.
Right.
And I like that sort of open-ended design that I think is indicative of these kind of games. Now, this one was kind of a bullshit one, because you can just go stand outside the well, drop all your shit on the ground, go in there, grab the ring naked. The place is literally around the corner. You walk back in, hand him the ring, go back outside, grab all your shit. It's more of an annoyance than like a thing you got to solve,
but when
right?
you walk outside, the mages inside are like, was that dude nude?
Yeah, I sent him on the Ring of Burden quest.
Oh.
Good one. And then I think in playing through Morrowind, a lot of the quests have this sort of thing of like, here's some stuff, figure it out. And I think a good famous one that, God, I wish I knew about when I was a kid is the Boots of Blinding Speed quest that I'm doing in Morrowind.
Yeah,
I did in Morrowind.
Those when I played.
You do a quest for this person, and she's like, hey, I need to be escorted to this town. If you do, I'll give you these boots of blinding speed. And the walking speed is excruciatingly slow when you start the game. So everyone is like, yes, I'll take boots of blinding speed. You do the quest, she gives them to you, and there are boots that add 200 points to your speed stat and make you go blind. And so immediately, it's like, how are you going to solve this problem? You want these fucking boots, and they're kind of bullshit and dumb, but how can you fix it? And the fix is you go buy the any resist magicka spell, because you don't have to have points in the stat in Morrowind to buy spells and cast spells of that school. You go to a trainer, because trainers aren't capped in Morrowind. Train yourself up enough that you can cast it. Go to a spellcrafter and make a spell that gives you resistance magical 100% for 1 second. And in that 1 second, you try to equip your boots real quick so the blinding effect doesn't affect you.
You did it a kind of smart way. I remember all I did when I got the boots was I just opened the map.
Yeah.
And I would just like point myself in the direction I wanted to
aim
go.
with
And then I would run for a little bit, and then I'd open the map again, and I would look to see where I was, and I'd point myself in the direction I wanted to go, and then I'd run some more.
Now, granted, I found my solution online. Like, please don't give me credit for that smart move. But I have used similar techniques in other stuff. And Morrowind is really good about, like, it gives you lots of quests where it's like, hey, you need to kill this dude in this bar, and he's surrounded by 7 other people. Yeah. He's never going to leave. You just got to figure out how you're going to do it. I don't know. I don't have a fix. I don't have an answer. And you just got to figure it out. And I feel like some of that spirit feels really toned down in the quests of Oblivion. It feels very much like they're more interested in telling a cinematic story and having cinematic moments than they are necessarily giving you problems to solve.
I have a comparative.
Yes,
thing
all right.
I wanted to talk about. That's not in the notes. And that's in Morrowind, and they haven't gone back to it since, because it's the same way in Oblivion and in Skyrim as well. But in Morrowind, when you joined guilds, it took a lot more effort to raise your rank. So you had to do a lot more missions. Because like in Oblivion, like I joined the Fighters Guild, for instance, in this playthrough.
Sure.
And you do one mission, and he's like, I can't give you any more missions until you're the next level. And you're like, oh, I want an advancement. And they're like, you did one mission, so you advance. And that's kind of like, in Oblivion, it's literally like you're just doing one mission, and then you advance to the next level. And I remember I remember even as like a kid, whenever I played Oblivion, I was like, oh, it felt like I earned it in Morrowind, because you have to do like 5 missions before you level up.
I'm feeling that less, but I think I'm doing a little bit of a cheesy playthrough of Morrowind, so like I'm doing stuff real fast.
Yeah.
I also feel like in general the quests in Morrowind are very like, it's a dark game. They're like, oh, this person didn't pay their guild dues. Can you go get it or kill them? I don't care.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Like, the Mages Guild had me assassinate like 8 people.
Right.
In different missions. I feel like Oblivion is very much, they'll present you with moral choices in quests, but at least in my 15 hours, they very much feel like there will be moments where you think you're doing the right thing, and then they're like, oh, here's a twist. Actually, you're the bad guy in this situation, and you can change your mind. But there's always generally like a good and a bad choice.
Right.
It feels like, where they're like, well, this is kind of the good person thing to do, and this is kind of the bad person thing to do. Morrowind, it's just like, you know, it just depends what faction you want to fucking sign up with. You're killing the other ones, but who'd you sign up with? All right, man, I guess you're in that boat.
I haven't played it in this playthrough, but I feel like even from what I remember from Oblivion, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, even when you join the Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion, like, first off, you have to murder a random person to get into them, and that's bad.
Sure.
But like once you're in it, I remember the quests all being kind of like, we're stopping this greater evil by murdering other people. Yeah,
it's like a Dexter situation where you're like, oh, they're a bad guy. Morrowind's just like, hey, I don't like them. Will you kill them publicly? And you're like, sure.
Well, Morrowind also has they don't have the Dark Brotherhood. They have the Morag Tong, if I remember right. That's their name.
The Dark Brotherhood's there. I think they were added in an expansion. The Morag Tong is there, and they're the rival to the Thieves Guild, or at least they were. I killed most of them.
Well, I remember
because I was asked to by someone for money.
I remember in one of my playthroughs, I joined the Morag Tong, and I was doing like assassination, because a lot of their stuff I thought was assassination. Apparently, the rest of the guilds also just have all assassination quests. But you can, in the Morag Tong, you can kill someone that's like important to the main story. Like, they ask you to kill someone that's important to the main story, and if you haven't done that part of the main story yet, it blocks you out from it forever. So
yeah, and I know for some people, they don't like the idea of a playthrough being like, well, you can't play all of the factions at once. And I believe in Oblivion, like, you can do all the quests for all the different factions all in one playthrough. As far as I know.
I think you can too.
I could be wrong. Morrowind's like, no, you signed up with this, and part of doing this faction's quest is going to be taking out this other faction. You just cannot do all of them. But I like that. I prefer the moral ambiguity of like, look, it's not about who's right and wrong. It's just about who's taking action and who's got the most money or who's got the most muscle, or like, it's a more interesting story to me.
I feel like we should move on before we get rid of all of our topics for talking about Morrowind that we could use in a later episode.
So a lot of the stuff that Oblivion started is really kind of taken into Skyrim. Skyrim also fixes a lot of things, like the garbage hotkey system in Oblivion. In Oblivion on PC, by default, the hotkey system is like it's just like Morrowind, where you can assign a thing to one of your number rows. But you can't unlearn spells in Oblivion. The UI is gigantic, so scrolling your spells and finding the spell you want takes fucking forever.
Yep.
It is not a hotkey system like that works very well.
The hotkeys on Xbox are just your D-pad.
Yeah, Skyrim kind of made the constant wielding of magic and melee nicer because you can do one in each hand, which was kind of a big thing for Skyrim. Also, this is probably, again, this is one of those speed up to slow down things that Oblivion does that really frustrated me. And they have a name for it. It's called the Radiant AI system. And the Radiant AI system was touted as like this amazing thing of like, hey, each and every character has a daily routine. They wake up in the morning, and at 8 a.m. they go have food at this restaurant, and at noon they go to this temple, and in the evening they're at this bar, and then they go to bed at this time. And that's such a cool idea for a living, breathing world. And it means that when you're in town, you see people walking around doing routines, and you can follow them, and they do that full routine, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it also means if you need to fucking find someone, like, I don't know, for one of the 90,000 quests, and you show up to their goddamn house and it's like they're not there, you either have to Google their like daily routine and be like, well, it's 2:00 on a Tuesday, and on Tuesdays they go visit Bill, so I got to go to Bill's house. It's really frustrating.
I kind of had that. There's a second, I think it's the second Fighters Guild quest in Oblivion, where you have to go. There's a dude that his store keeps getting broken into at night and stuff gets stolen, and he wants you to like stake it out. Mm-hmm. And so you go to this dude's store, and the front door's locked. So I got there kind of like early in the morning, so I was like, "Wow!" So
I'll wait a couple hours.
I'll just loiter a bit, and I ended up loitering for 24 hours, like an hour each time, and the door never unlocked. And finally, I was like, "There's a back door, isn't there?" And he just locked the front door like an asshole. Like,
was that the case?
Yep.
I was doing Thieves Guild, and you have to find your fences, and I was doing the same thing where I'd go to where I know my fence is going to eventually be, and wait 2 hours. Here they are. And then eventually one time I did it, and I had to wait like 18 hours in 2-hour increments in a row. And in Oblivion, the waiting takes 1 second per hour. It's not like instant.
Yeah.
And so finally he shows up, but I am a vampire and haven't fed in enough days that I'm turning people off, so he won't fucking talk to me. And so it's just a lot of stuff done to make Oblivion more cinematic, and it does.
Yeah.
But it also makes a lot of really basic actions, like just getting information and finding people, a lot slower.
You were sparkling too hard, and he didn't want to talk to you.
And it has started to wear on the technical issues, the constant problems, and again, like I can't remember who it was in the Discord. Someone was like, Skyrim just does everything Oblivion does, but better. And I was defensive of Oblivion. I was like, nuh-uh, Oblivion's great. I love Oblivion.
Yeah.
And now, many hours later, whoever you were, I don't remember. I think it was Snickstore in the modern channel on our Discord. Whoever it was, you were right. After playing 15 hours of Oblivion, I'm starting to bump into the issues, and I'm like, man, I don't want to do 15 more minutes of lock picking and save scumming to get through a zone. It's just.
I didn't, when I started playing Oblivion this time, I didn't remember that you can fast travel to every major town. Right away. I thought it was still, because the Skyrim way, isn't it? You have to like discover the location first before you can fast travel to it.
I think so.
Which is the way that I prefer, because it allows you to walk around and see dungeons.
Yeah, you get a feel for the world,
stuff like that. And I think that's what I missed the most about Oblivion. Is on one hand, I want to do the quest and I want to get it done, but I also want to experience stuff. And horses suck, so you don't want to ride a horse.
Yeah, I put that in the notes. The horses exist in Oblivion, which they weren't in the previous game after being taken out after Daggerfall, but they fucking suck. You can't do combat on them. They get killed all the time. You go down a steep hill and they fucking die under you and ragdoll down it. They just suck ass.
Yeah. Well, it's because horses don't exist in Morrowind. They're
obviously
it's illegal
they never
to
had
bring
horses.
them. They're an invasive species, Justin.
If you did, there'd be roving gangs of angry horses beating down every city door.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Dunmer conspiracy. Yeah. Please continue. You're talking about fast travel.
Oh, I was just saying I didn't remember that it was there, and I think it detracts from the experience of the game, being able to experience the world and find.
I think it does too.
Although I did walk from one location to the other, and I found a cave in between the two, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna go dungeon crawl this cave and get some loot. And I walk in, and there's nobody in there. And it's just there's traps there, and there's chests. None of the chests are locked, and they're filled with garbage, except for like some potions. But I kept like sneaking around corners, but then nobody was there.
Did you read the sign out front that said "Idiot Cave for Dummies"?
No, it said "Gone Fishing." But yeah,
and again, it could be that was placed there on purpose. It could be a victim of Radiant AI doing its Radiant AI thing. Who
maybe
knows?
the thought of like there are campfires inside and torches lit and everything else, like it feels like, and there's beds on the ground, but I'm just like sneaking around like an idiot. Like,
that's my next D&D adventure I'm going to run for y'all.
Oh, great!
It's already been looted, but here you are.
And there's no corpses. They got rid of them.
I think one quest really is indicative of my Oblivion experience, which is it's a Thieves Guild quest where you have to break into the prison in a town. I don't fucking remember. You have to break into the prison or get into the prison, talk to this prisoner to ask where this other prisoner is, and then you find a secret passage, and it turns out that this lady in the castle is a vampire, and she's taking prisoners and feeding on them. Cool idea for a quest. How fun.
Yeah.
Except in the quest dialogue, it's like you go to try to talk to the guard and you try to bribe him, like, hey, let me in the prison. And he's like, no, I'm a good person. I'm not going to let you do that. That's bad. And then the quest, in your journal, it's like, how's a guy supposed to see the inside of a cell around here? Get arrested? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
With that voice.
And I felt talked down to. I was like, game, let me come to the conclusion to get myself arrested, because then I feel smart and cool for being like, I know how I'll get into jail. I'll stab this fucking dumb guard in the face and he'll lock me up.
And then they put you to death.
Like, let me come to the conclusion, right? That's what's exciting to me. And Oblivion very much, I hate to be this guy. I hate to be this guy because I usually want to yell at this guy. But it's a little too hand-holdy. It's a little too just like kind of feeding you exactly what you need to do, where you need to go, when you need to do it. And I miss that exploration.
It's a little too. I think that's exactly all it does.
Yeah. But at the same time, the game part of the game is way too hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, do you want to hold my hand and walk me through this wonderland of fantasy treats? Or do you want me to die? I can't figure out what you want from me, game. Also, that same quest, I finally got the guy out of prison, and it's like, oh, break him out of the castle. But it doesn't tell you where to go, so I took the wrong path out of the castle, and it left him behind, and it didn't count. And it was just weird. And that whole quest was glitched. I ended up having to use console commands because the Duke of that castle kept appearing in front of me magically. Yeah, and forcing me into conversations.
He's like, hey, did you break out that guy from the prison?
I did have one moment where I accidentally walked into the full barracks and 15 guard voices simultaneously went, "Stop, prisoners!" And that was pretty fucking funny because I immediately turned around and went back out and then left.
Yeah.
And they didn't follow me.
We forgot to mention, in the beginning of the game, it does have Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Sir Patrick Stewart as Uriel Septim. They really were like, because I went back and listened to like some old like GFW radio and stuff from around, podcasts from around this era of like hype for the game, and people were like, oh man, they got a bunch of celebrities to do it and whatever. He talks for like 5 fucking minutes at the beginning of the game and then fucks off.
I think he has some voiceover stuff during Dreams or something, if I remember.
If you say so, man. He was just there for they paid him for like 20 minutes of studio time.
Yeah. I generally play a Dark Elf, and I forgot that in the beginning of Oblivion, if you play a Dark Elf, because the other guy in the cell across from you is also a Dunmer. Yeah. And the dialogue for if you're also a Dunmer is he goes, "Hey, I haven't seen another Dunmer in wherever we are, the Empire, in ages. I'm going to get out of prison soon, so I'll go back to Morrowind, and I'm going to take care of your wife for you. Don't worry, I'll take care of her real nice." And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Holy shit, I know why he's in jail. God damn, dude.
He's like, don't worry, she'll be taken care of for sure. You'll never see her again because you're. I
don't know why I want to crash cut to him just being really nice and like cooking her dinner and like helping her with stuff,
taking
and
care of her,
patting her on the back and being like, "Your husband will be home soon. Don't worry," and like just being really respectful and nice to her.
Yeah,
I told him I'd take care of you. What else to say, man? I feel like, you know, it's kind of the victim of its own ambitions, which is kind of the name of the game for the lesser loved Bethesda games across the board. It's just kind of what, you know, victims of their own ambitions, right?
Yeah.
And I think I do agree with the person in Discord that was like, you go to Morrowind if you want old, and you go to Skyrim if you want new. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of there now. I kind of have made it there.
Well, and Skyrim's not really new anymore.
No, it's old as shit. But I think it does a lot of the stuff Oblivion wants to do better.
Yeah.
And I think I see that now.
I think they're going to, you know, in 20 years, whenever the next Elder Scrolls comes out, they're still probably going to be releasing like the 80th anniversary edition of Skyrim on the Xbox 50 or whatever they're going to call it.
Saturn, final thoughts. What do you think?
I also think.
Great.
There you go. Proof of life.
I would say, like, my final thoughts is I remember, you know, as we've kind of talked about this topic in general, is nostalgia was great. I think that I was just hungry for a new Elder Scrolls game, and it fulfilled that hunger, even though it maybe wasn't as good as Morrowind. It improved on some things and then made things worse.
I think before Skyrim, I could definitely see it.
Yeah. And then I think Skyrim came out, and it so overshadowed Oblivion that everyone just forgot about it.
Yeah, like definitely. Yeah. I think I'm right there with you. And going back to Morrowind by way of OpenMW, I'm starting to remember what I love so much about that style of game. And it's starting to make me recognize what Oblivion kind of lost in the transition to this like cinematic universe kind of thing, you know.
And the thing you loved about Morrowind was really fast boots.
Honestly, if I had no technical issues with Oblivion, I'd still have problems, but I think they would be lessened.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know, man. It's tough.
Tough stuff.
It's tough because I know we both have a ton of nostalgia for the game, and I finally just put it down. And I think you weren't quite as negative as me. You were having some of the same problems, but I don't think you had made it quite to the like fuck this stage.
Right. Well, I think you also had pointed out that you were enjoying the game, you know, at the point that I'm at.
Yeah.
You didn't start
5-6 hours in, I was like, this is fucking awesome. Let's do an episode. And then 6-7 hours later, I was like, never mind.
So it's possible. I mean, we're not going to do an episode on it, so I'm not going to play the game anymore just because I don't care.
Well, I think that says something though, right? The fact that you've been like, it's been so many years since I played it, you're having a good time with it, and then as soon as I'm like, maybe this is the episode we're going to do on it, and you're like, yeah, I'm done then.
Well, but Justin, it's only because I haven't put enough hours into Stardew Valley yet.
Well, maybe when you hit 500 hours, that'll be it.
Yeah, maybe that's.
I played like the first 3 hours of Stardew Valley. Does that count?
Yeah.
Yes.
You did it.
That's basically.
Well, then I'm
there.
Game. I'm done.
It's done.
Yeah.
Did you plant a crop and then harvest it and get money for it?
I did. I even got a fish somehow.
Oh,
that's the experience.
Yeah, the fish is the hardest part.
I cannot catch fish in that game. It's so hard.
So good at it.
There was a Game Pass quest one month for like get 3 fish.
Catch a fish.
And I was like, how long can it take to get 3 fish in this game? And then 3 hours later, I was like, I hate it. I hate everything right now.
It definitely is difficult in the very beginning.
I have a quest for everyone, and it's to go to patreon.com/retrowarriors.
But not through the iOS app.
But don't do it through iOS. Just go open Safari, I guess is what you're probably using, and just go to patreon.com/retrowarriors, and you can subscribe right there with your credit card.
Yeah, but if you use mobile Safari, doesn't it still tag you?
I don't know. Please don't quote me on any of this. Don't use Safari. Use a better browser like Firefox.
Yes.
And then you can get uncut versions of this show where we talk about genies for a long time.
There was some genie talk, yeah.
And then we realized that all of our science-based understanding of the world came from movies.
Mostly Disney movies.
Mostly Disney movies, and that I'm probably dumber for it.
Nah.
Anyway, we want to thank the following patrons for their kind donations. I guess just me and Andrew will do it. Saturn, you didn't earn it,
Saturn.
Yeah, I agree.
Starting with Mr. Jiggyfly,
Frank Grimes,
Asher,
B-Rad 1978,
Blackened,
Brett Stifler,
Linux user, by the way,
Michael Castro,
Ishitrue,
News Goose Clover.
Are all the patrons we want to thank for their kind donations. Andrew, I want to thank you for impromptu 12 hours ago agreeing to do a late night podcast with me
on a
at
work
the very
night.
last minute on a work night, no less. About a game that you just started playing.
I want to thank you for giving me all of the easy Patreon names.
Oh, I did that on purpose.
Yeah, definitely on purpose.
So we're square then, right?
Yeah,
so
totally. No, I mean technically, when you messaged me and you're like, I'm screwed. I have the same episode that I had before, and my first suggestion was like, we could just hammer out the Oblivion episode tonight instead. And you were like, sweet, let's do it.
Yeah. So thank you for stepping in and doing what Saturn couldn't.
Yep. Thank you for being a friend.
Being a friend.
So sweet. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together.
Wait, do I stop the recording now and upload it? And then, okay.